And welcome back to the shed of basketball truth. That is Studio 3 for Ball Don't Lie Australia. And yes, I was flashing around during the intro. Local card shop of Woolloongabba, Crackem, is back. And there's a couple of other people back on the couch as well. One captain of a certain rather capital team. And Elliot.
Yeah.
Off the back of a huge, absolutely monster Monday night social game.
Yes. I think under 10 points in the first half was really great. So
the crowd was rocking.
The crowd goes wild.
Are we talking about the score or are we talking about the deficit? Or should we just move it along?
We'll just keep going.
That says everything we need to hear. And how about how's your social games going, mate?
Yeah, good. We won in overtime last night with a Tim Sung bank game winner 3 on the buzzer. So feeling great. Dragons for life, you know.
I don't know about life, but I've been there for a few years. It's nice. They love it when I occasionally show up for a game. It's great. It's great.
Do you have quite the community?
Yes, it is. But I had a magical moment during the week, during our game. For obvious reasons, got the ball. For some reason, I was out on the 3-point line. I had no business being there, frankly. But, was out there. No one came out to me. It was early in the game.
A good reason, usually.
You know this. I know this. My team knew this. But clearly I wasn't on the scout. So no one came to me, laced a 3, and then running back up the court, everyone was like, that was on me. I should have got out to that. That stroke was pure. I was just giggling to myself the entire way back up the court. Next time up, right in front of their bench, I get the ball again, and their bench yells out, shooter. As soon as I get the ball.
Mal, did you just drop it and walk off?
Yeah, you'll love to hear it.
I could not have passed the ball fast enough. If there's anything I proved for the rest of the night, not a shooter, and also not great handles. Not great handles. A lot of turnovers. But hey, basketball's great. It's fantastic. It really does wonders for the ego.
Yeah.
Just when you're riding high. Oh, come on, Tiger.
Yeah.
Come on. You don't put in the work. You get what you get.
Yeah.
But anyway, like we talked about at a local card shop at Woolloongabba, Crackem is back. We'll have that at the end of the episode. Got some 2023, 2024 tops to open. Also, need to thank, of course, Dr Electrician, servicing North Adelaide and all Brisbane areas with all your electrical needs, either emergency or otherwise. Make sure you call Dr. Electrical or Electrician. Same guys. All right. And a little bit's happened in not great for not great games wise for the Cap since we last spoke, but it was still a hell of a season.
Yeah, for sure. We got further than I think a lot of people thought we would get. I know a few people were tipping us not to.
There's one of them on the couch.
not to even make the playoffs. So no, it was a great first year under Vandy. We did what we expected. We expected that one step further. But it was a really successful year on all bases. So really good group of guys, and we kind of got to where we wanted to get to, like playing wise. Came up against a very strong Mackay team in the final, and obviously came up a little short. But it should be back better than ever next year. So
yeah, and look, it was a little short, only in both games. Technically swept, but you guys were the ones who made the dance. You get the feeling they would have won against anyone else in the playoffs. So
yeah, look, honestly, I
But-
think they showed why they'd been almost like 2 losses for the season. So, and yeah, those the guys that stepped up in the final, like Toddy, just did what Todd does. Luca Yates, incredibly impressive. He a big thorn in our side. We didn't underestimate him, but he really came in and got a lot of rebounds that we didn't fully expect him to be able to get over our big guys. But yeah, they're like props to those guys. They really turned it up an extra level for the grand final.
They certainly did. And of course, Nationals happened on the Sunshine Coast since last time we were on. And it was a fantastic weekend of basketball. To be honest, really good. The Spartans women got there in the end. And unfortunately, they did the same thing they did a couple of years ago when they were at Nationals, and that's win their last game. Which
Finished on a high,
It is. Unfortunately, though, in this format, if you don't win your first one, it's really, really hard to actually make it through to that semi-finals and have a chance. And they came up short. But look, in that first game against the Lions, they looked really good for 3 quarters, and they just looked like a team that hadn't really practiced aggressively in the lead up, because obviously they didn't get the call up till late.
Yeah.
So
obviously their season had ended a few weeks beforehand,
Yep.
like you're going to have 1 week of training and losing a few players, a few crucial players to their team. So yeah, it was always going to be a hard slog.
It was, and obviously, no Cabillo and Clinch Hoycard. But Matty Allen played absolutely amazingly over both games, and so did Kalani Purcell. So other players stepped up as well, but it was a lot with the teams they went up against to really get it done, and that late call-up really didn't help, but they showed up, gave it their all, ended up short. On the men's side, of course, Mackay represented NBL1 North after sweeping the Caps.
Thanks for mentioning that again.
Look, I may not have if you weren't in the room, but that's the twist. I stabbed it in earlier.
Yeah.
But and going back to that, of course, it was a fantastic turnaround. Like Vandy had an amazing. He came in early, good vibes. I was only hearing good things early doors, and you guys really rallied across the whole season and made the big dance in the end. Just 2 games short. But Mackay, obviously missing some big pieces. Mandurah Magic just looked a little tired in the end because they got out to a lead. The court was a little bit slippery on the Mitsubishi Motors.
A lot of bit slippery.
A lot of bit slippery. As someone who was there watching it courtside, it was very slippery, and it was only on the Mitsubishi Motors logo.
They're just trying to get some extra play on the let's just concentrate the video.
Yep, right
on
here.
that side,
I mean, that's what I was talking about with people, in the building. It was like, there's no such thing as bad publicity.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's kind of not dissimilar to what was it 3 years ago when the decals were really bad and everyone kept slipping on them. It kind of took me back to those days of the first like two rounds of all the NBL players complaining about the decals, but obviously it was an issue because it was any time someone ran into that top of the key and tried to pull up.
At both ends.
Yeah.
At both ends. It was a bit bad. Mandurah just looked like they were exhausted in the end. Came up short. Mackay were down early. Like Joel Kalu said in an interview I did with him, it was a 40-minute dogfight for them. They never really looked completely comfortable, but they got through without the pieces that were missing. Emmett Nah over the whole weekend for Mackay, just
15 plus assists, right?
Yeah,
a game.
Wow,
so
just thoroughly earned that All-Star 5 for Nationals.
Yeah, I mean the only way they were going to win was by like making it a game in the mud, like for the slowing the other team down and then getting out themselves, and they executed the game plan to perfection, like over the whole weekend. Like you couldn't have asked for more out of those guys. obviously, like, it's on our scout that they are a very high-paced team, and they still managed to get on the rim whenever they could and then get out and transition and score in bunches. Like, yeah, they have a tendency to punch you in the face, and then it kind of happens real quick. That lead, like, that Mandura had went from like 13 to like 3 in 2 minutes, you know?
Yeah, and then when Mackay got out to that lead, it also then disappeared real quick as well on the flip side. But,
yeah,
you know, but Mackay ended up getting it done and knocked DJ's team off the following day. It was great to see old Rasmussen get some minutes as well in that one. And again, Emmett and Krause really stepped up. And then day 3 arrived. They made the big dance. And they were able to add in Lukey Yates, which, you know,
if they did not have him against that team, like, not saying anything bad about the other guys, but what's the team's name that they came up with?
The Knox Raiders.
Knox, yeah. They were huge. They had 3 like 6'8" guys. Like, I know Aussie Raps off to Portland with Maxi, and then to have Kyle Bowen and I can never either pronounce or remember that guy's name.
Anzac,
yeah. That lineup. And then they ran those 3 on the court at the same time. I was, flummoxed if they didn't have Lukey Yates. Jesus.
Yeah, look, you know, would have been a bit tough, but yeah, and they had a shot right at the end. Wasn't a pretty one to tie it back up, but yeah, look, couldn't get it done. Knox do what no one else has been able to do and win back-to-back whilst not actually making it on, you know, technical merit this season. I say that by they didn't win the NBL1 South this time round. They were knocked out earlier in the rounds, but they come along, they come fresh. Players showed up. You know, that was obviously the mindset after being knocked out. I was like, all right, we've got to get ready for this next thing. Had the time, and ended up just doing it. So congratulations.
That was their full team. Whereas obviously with Mackay, they're missing their 2 like 30-point a game scorers. So like shows the heart of the Mackay guys, but it also shows that North is pretty tough.
Very.
Yeah.
Very, very. But and over on the women's side, obviously Bendigo Braves. Look, they made it through. Look, they looked good through the teams they had to get through, but Beck Cole in the end had a monster performance in that 4th game, and they looked like they were an Amy Atwell away, which that's a huge piece, obviously, for Bendigo to be missing, but off getting a bronze gold.
With the way with the way Waverley was playing, you know, it's almost more than maybe Atwell.
Yeah, look, they came out very strong. They did an incredible job on the Braves, and it was very quickly out to double figures.
Yeah,
and it just didn't have that kind of vibe of a game where they were going to be able to come back and get it done. They just kept building and building and building on that lead, and ended up 40-ish sort of points in the end, and strong victory for Waverley. But it's still amazing for the fact that Bendigo were able to make it in the end, and Waverley come away with their first national title, which, congrats to them. Fantastic job from those guys at South getting it done.
Yeah. Bit of a sweep over the over the weekend.
All right. Now, one thing I do want to touch on before we move on, Joel Carlu's coaching career in Mackay. I want to hit you guys with some numbers. Do you either of you know how many wins he ended up with in his Mackay head coaching career?
I thought, didn't he get his 100th win this year? So he'd be at like 110?
Not quite 110. He got his 100th very much just before
Okay, so like
he met the
105.
Caps. So he ended up on 104.
104.
104. How many losses do you want to say?
I'm going to say
Yeah, not many.
30.
34 in the end, which comes out at a winning percentage of 75.3%.
Yeah, wow.
Which that's not just obviously this season, that's all 7 seasons. To put a little bit of that in perspective, like Eric Spoelstra over in Miami, obviously different situation, but he's sitting on regular season 0.59, 59%.
Yeah.
So, big deal. And we go back to, someone like Pat Riley.
Incredibly impressive.
63%.
But you got to do more comparisons to like the soccer leagues where there's no salary caps.
Look, that's that is one way to look at it.
Where the teams that have all the sponsorship get a few extra get a few extra players.
Well, they haven't always had wildly fantastic teams, but he's
sure
not always. They've put some good teams together. He's done a good job in that position. There's
100%.
been some teams around the NBL1 North itself who've had some rather good rosters, who've had some disappointing seasons.
Yeah, 100%.
So
there was not a shot at Joe. He's a good coach, and everything that I've heard from like guys that have played for him, even for like not just for Mackay, for like the Queensland South state teams have just raved about him. He's a great dude, a really good coach, and wish him all the best at Illawarra.
And one last percentage to throw at you, Brian Gorgon, 68%. So percentage-wise, doing quite good, Joel. Just be careful where you go next.
Yeah.
Don't want to ruin those numbers. But fantastic for him, obviously. Best of luck, Joel, and thank you for your time over Nationals and, of course, the season. Boys, Bullets preseason. Bang, bang. It's it's still preseason.
Yeah.
Let's not, be silly about it.
They're going to win the thing.
Well, let's not do soccer and do the whole "it's coming home" because that never works out. No, ever. But look, there's some really good feels coming into these last couple of preseason games. Things for preseason. There's some good signs.
I mean, I'm not taking anything out of the Shanghai Sharks game especially because in the closed gym one against the Illawarra Hawks, Shanghai lost by 63 or something like that.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, it's hard to take anything out of that one. But against Melbourne, we looked pretty good. Dangadell, surprisingly, at least for me, I don't know what other people's expectations was of him, but the last time he was in the NBL, he was rather underwhelming.
Yeah.
But he's looked really good. Hopefully he can keep getting on the rim and keep asserting himself that way, because once he gets downhill, he's incredibly hard to stop.
I didn't really know what I expected. I thought it was kind of random. He's been showing up, so he's looked good. So he's fitting within the roster as well, which is awesome to see.
Yeah, look, he's played so well. When regular season comes, we're gonna have to do a dang Adele. Just like we used to do with dang.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that dunk, jeez.
Yeah.
Welcome to Brisbane.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
I mean, that's the only thing I was taking out of the Shanghai game. that was big.
Yes, it was. And look, Rocco, obviously preseason games, but he's looking a lot more grounded on the court.
Yeah.
Doesn't look anywhere near as lost. Still preseason, all that kind of stuff. But he's looking a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, definitely against Melbourne. I didn't love his minutes against Shanghai. I don't know.
Someone who's a real big deal told me the Shanghai game didn't really count. So
wasn't it? But yeah, no, he looks all right. I thought I was kind of I didn't expect anything out of Towie, and Towie's actually kind of looked nice. He's
stretching the floor a little bit.
Yeah,
It's good.
really quite well, and he looks like he's in reasonable shape. Like that's always been a problem with Towie, that he's not in like a professional basketball shape. But if he's playing like 5-10 minutes a game and he can stretch the floor a bit and make like reasonable decisions as that like connective four-man, it could be really good for us. The weird lineup was having was it Rocco at the 5 and then Towie and Bairstow on the floor? I was like, what is happening here?
Preseason, baby. Preseason.
Did we run out of wings?
Sometimes you don't need wings to fly.
Yeah.
All right. Now,
how are you feeling about the imports? Or is it too early to make a...
too early.
Yeah.
Too early.
It's Brisbane and imports, so when you put them together, it doesn't usually work. But for now, I think they look promising, but I'm not gonna jump on any bandwagons too quickly. I don't think.
Yeah, and it's the Bullets. They've had a long history of making you have real hope coming into the regular season. Not necessarily with Coach Schuler and what's going on in this last season and moving into this one, but in the past. So I'm a little bit reserved.
Yeah.
Letting things out, but of course imports are always tricky, and it's halfway through the season. How are they coping? How are they going with their minutes? Have they picked up anything niggly? That kind of stuff, which is really crucial for those guys. But I haven't seen anything that's really bothered me yet.
They're just like the shots just aren't quite dropping at the rate you want them to at this stage. But obviously, as we've said, it's preseason. So
yes,
I mean, as long as we don't win the Blitz, because that's
a terrible
a death sentence
for the coach, the GM, for everybody.
Even the replacement coach.
Yeah, look, let's try and move forward. Let's move it along, and head first into well, this might not be moving forward.
This is moving directly to where. What a segue we just had.
Look, 30. It's been a couple of weeks since we've done an ep, so 36ers and Jackie's choices. I mean, Jackie's everything that's kind of happened in the last couple of weeks. 36ers. Let's just say they feel like they could have done things a little differently.
Yeah, I just don't. Like, and obviously the player group didn't get it either. Like, no one got the memo.
Yeah,
like that was going to be the case. And
which have we not learnt this across the NBL yet? Like, get in touch with your players. Like,
at least those like top dudes that you've signed, like Dijon should have been. Yeah. If you're signing him as like a guy that is supposed to be your star and you've signed him for a few years, you can't just be like, yeah, we just got rid of the coach, assistant coach that's been at Adelaide for
more than half his life.
Yeah, like 30 years, and then had a pretty good run at the end of the year last year. Obviously,
he was better than what they were doing before he got there, or before he took the head coach role. So, and they all seem to like him. I don't know.
Yeah, tough one.
I heard Jared was pretty happy about the decision as a 36er fan. And he's not here to defend himself, so
no. So look, let's throw him straight under the bus.
Yeah. He likes lifetime assistant coaches coming in.
Yeah, look, to quote Jared, and I'm sure he'll be okay with this quote, or paraphrase. Let's go with paraphrase because I'll never quite get the quote.
The one where he said that Adelaide's going to win it all, or?
No, I won't be quoting him on that one. But hey, you feel free to capture that moment in time in 10 years when it might happen. Yeah. But
I didn't put a time limit on.
No, but those truly great assistant coaches that are working systems over in America and NBA, they find head coaching roles if fairly quickly. That was kind of his thoughts around it. So he's got some concerns.
Yeah,
going in as a fan.
It just depends on what your definition of quickly is. Like 25 years, is it quick? Like Scott Ninnis just got the,
I did love Scott Innes's clapped back, obviously, sat down with a lawyer and made sure it was very clear. And it was basically I'm disappointed, but I'll be paid. Thank you.
Yeah.
I will be taking my 2-year contract paid out.
Paid in full, please. Yes. Sooner rather than later, possibly as well. So, look, is what it is. Jackies. Now, obviously, two sides to that coin. Young man who's not quite sure what he wants to do, different things, wants to keep playing rugby, obviously, was asked not to, might have been told firmly not to, chose to. Jackies have then turned around and said, well, if that's your choice, we're going to go another way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the whole him getting 2 separate injuries playing rugby helped.
No.
And, like, I've heard different sides of this coin, like, so you never really know what exactly is the truth, but from, like, someone that's on the Jackies team, I've heard that it was always that way, that they were saying, no, don't play rugby. You're trying to be a professional basketball player. That is dangerous. And then obviously he continued and then missed whatever deadline they'd given him to come to Tasmania.
Mm-hmm. And along with that, not even choosing to play basketball at his school. So he's playing a completely different sport. He's not even playing basketball. So it's not like they've even asked him to not play the sport that he's actually going to play. Just, everyone's just shaking their heads. I think it's a bit,
Little interesting. Wish both of them the best, but we can now get to the great Jackie story.
Stoddy!
That's right. Stoddy, finally, he's in the NBL.
Yeah.
He's in the NBL.
We've been waiting a few years for it.
He's had such a bad run of luck. Couple of injuries. Really uncomfortable ones to watch. Right.
Is zoomed in camera shots of him too. So
yeah. Really, really bad. And then because from the commentary booth, it was that what he'd gone through, what he wanted, what his aspirations were, how well he was playing, how well he'd been training, all the effort he'd put in, and then he'd pick up this injury and then come back and then boom, straight into another injury. But he's back on the floor. Yeah. He's had a great season down south, and he's going to play with the Jack Jumpers.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Like, I'm honestly so happy for him, like proud of that dude. He's worked really hard for it. I honestly didn't think he was going to end up getting a shot. But it was, a real happy surprise, especially to go to a club like the Jackies where, like, it's going to be tough. He's going to have to work his ring off to, like, make it in that team. But the thing is that they, like, don't discriminate against their development players. Like, if he's playing better than someone, then he'll get a shot. Like, you've seen that. I know Shawnee Mack's kind of like the exception because they signed him with all intentions to be playing him the whole time, just as a development player, so they could have like a couple older dudes on the lineup. But yeah, if he can play well enough, and down south he was like 15 points a game on really high efficiencies. I mean, there's nothing to say that he wouldn't be able to get some actual minutes this year.
Yeah, great job, Stoddy. Absolutely fantastic to see you finally getting the call up to where you, I really genuinely believe would have been if it wasn't for the injuries.
I guarantee that's where he would have been without the injury. Like, without that first shoulder injury that he got 2 years ago, that was his spot, like at the Bullets. So,
yeah, but you're there, mate. Give it everything. Give him hell, and we'll track your season. We'll give you intermittent Stoddy updates throughout this NBL season. Hopefully, hopefully it's not all just garbage time, and he can really find a spot and find a role on that Jackie's team, because Scott Roth is going to push. Gets his players to find parts of themselves. So, All the best, Stoddy. We loved everything you've done so far, and next step, I'm sure, will be fantastic. All right, speaking of super coaches, fellas, let's jump into NBL super coach.
Lord.
Segway games improved.
Jesus, we're just jumping between this.
Flying through here, guys, flying through. Look, all I want to know, I don't want to know your whole starting fives. I don't want to know your full rosters. I just want to know who you're taking first. Who's your one player that you're then going to build around?
I mean, it's hard, like, especially with the pricing of certain players.
Mm-hmm. Bryce Cotton, for example, 448,500.
Yeah, and like you look at like, I was like, oh, probably like Xavier Cooks, and then I'm like, geez, he's expensive too.
Very expensive.
No, honestly, I think I'm kind of. It probably won't turn out well because usually the new imports don't turn out that great. But I'm very intrigued about putting Dylan Windler in. Proven quite a good rebounder as a three-man. I think he'll be heavily involved in the offensive side of things because if you're starting Doolittle and Pinder, they're kind of just finishers, and then you're probably running a fair bit through him. So I think he's going to pick up a fair few assists, fair few rebounds, and then probably like 15, 16 points a game. So I think as someone that's a little bit more affordable than those top-end guys, I think that's a pretty good player to build around. But you just got to put the premise that sometimes these imports think they're a bit better than the NBL, and then they get a rude awakening. So I don't know. I think he'll be good, but you could probably play it safe and go with like Cam Oliver, who's not crazy expensive for some value.
Yeah.
Elliot?
I'm thinking along those same lines. There's Matthew Hurt. It's been averaging a lot in the G League. So he's that 4-5, scores a lot of points. Obviously, we'll get some rebounds, a few blocks. So I think he'll be some good value. I don't know how expensive it will be. But
they all the new imports start at like 277.
So it sounds pretty good. But yeah, you'd be looking at those 3-4-5s that are going to kind of do a bit of everything. But I think he'll be a good pickup.
See, I'm going to possibly pen a new thing here, and I'm going to go with Super Coach Maths.
Yep.
So I looked at this, and I looked at Bryce Cotton at 448,500. Then I looked at Xavier Cooks at 365,500, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to save myself about 90,000. I've got a free 90,000 to play with down the line. I'm going to go with Cookie. I think he's going to come back and have a good season.
Yeah.
I'm going to also premise that with my super coach teams are perennially average. So
I've played in a few comps with you. I can put that one down.
Yeah,
I mean, last year I was in shambles. Last year,
yes.
The changeover from the previous, like the NBL, whatever the Dream Team or whatever it was before this.
Yeah.
It didn't do me any good. A couple of times I made trades and then you didn't save it, and
all gone. And that's the problem. The part of super coach, you got to be on it every week. You got to be tracking if there's opportunities. You got to jump on them quick and really improve your team as much as you can throughout the season. So when it gets to the pointy end, if you're in it, you can really drive that point home and take down the elusive Tim Songs.
Yeah. You got any sleeper picks, Mal, that you want to throw out there?
Oh, look, sleeper pick I used to go with was Harry Froling, but I think there's some value in the Froling family. Obviously, Sam is can ball. Look, give me Sam. He's had a good season. I think he's probably a little bit overpriced at the moment, but obviously with the super coach as well, player values go up and down. So track that stuff. If someone's a little bit expensive now and they don't tend to start the season off well, then give it a couple of weeks, pick up a little bit cheaper down the line, or regret something horribly regret it as you get later in the season and they're now worth 300,000-400,000 and be like, I had them at 150. Come on,
got to get Deng Adele early before he goes up a record.
Oh, there it is, right there. So then we can do that. Dang Adele. That's better. That's the better sting. That's the one we'll go with. That's way better. All right, now it is time, ladies and gentlemen. It is time. That local card shop of Woolloongabba Crackem, brand new pack. And some people have asked some questions about this. Brand new pack, unopened. All right, Elliot, are you ready?
More ready than it was for the last season packs, I think. So
yeah, I heard you get people that weren't Bullets players the other week.
Yeah, I know, right?
I was happily surprised.
Hey. All right, so 2023 tops. Here we go. Pack is open. If you haven't played before, local card shop of Woolloongabba Crackem works like this. I read the back of the card. The guys don't get to see the front or the back. And whenever I get to the player's name, I say somebody, and we go from there. First one in. Let's go Wizards and Capitals for your buzzers. Sure. Okay. So, Elliot, you'll be saying Capitals. No, as we are. All right. First card in local card shop of Woolloongabba Crackem. The Jack Jumpers made somebody their final roster addition for the 2023-2024 season, adding a veteran of the league with size, toughness, and scoring prowess. He is
Capitals. Is it Majok Dang?
It is Majok Dang, number 5. All right.
Looks to be starting this year.
Indeed. All right, next one. I will tell you straight off the jump. Centre. I'll give you a clue early. Thrust into a starting role following the off-season departure of 2 post players. Somebody seized upon his opportunity early in 2023-2024 season. He put up 12.7 rebounds and 2 assists in only 16 minutes in the September 30th opener against Illawarra. 8 days later, somebody had more points, 22, than minutes 21 in a 109-100 victory over Adelaide. Now, not a lot in there for those guessing. I'll give you a team. Sydney Kings.
Capitals. Is it Geordie Hunter?
It is Geordie Hunter.
I was kind of going to say that too. I was like, I'm pretty sure this is going to be Geordie Hunter, and I just didn't want to go in case you gave the team to Elliot.
All right, here we go. All right. Oh, one for Jared. I'm sure he'll be really keen on this one. So for the Adelaide 36ers, card number 3 is part of Woolloongabba Crackem. Local card shop of Woolloongabba Crackem. There we go. Elevated to a full Adelaide roster spot for NBL 24. Somebody continues to make progress as one of the up-and-coming players in the league. One of his finest performances to date came on December 11th, 2022, when he dropped 15 points on Southeast Melbourne in only 17 minutes.
Capitals? Is it Nick Marshall?
Nick Marshall, it is.
He was going to be one of the sleeper guys that you could get some value out of.
Yeah, there's definitely some value there.
I only know it because Kadee keeps tagging him or gets tagged in the videos of their training sessions. It's always him and Nick Marshall on the same thing.
Okay. Ooh, interesting. Last 3 cards, all for the same team.
Oh, Elliot's hoping it's Bullets.
It is not the Bullets.
Oh, no.
It is not the Bullets. Somebody needed only 2 games in the NBL to record his first double-double. Hopping off the bench to play 30 minutes against Southeast Melbourne on October 4, 2023, he rang up 15 points and 11 rebounds while also contributing 3 blocks, 2 steals, and an assist. The promising Swedish forward joined the NBL Next Stars program after a year in the
Capitals. Is it Bobby Clintman?
Bobby Clintman, it is. There's a card right there.
Nice. Detroit Piston.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Well, that should narrow it down as to what team.
Yeah.
All Cairns.
All Cairns.
I mean, New Zealand. They play for New Zealand.
Possibly. Not going to rule it out. Okay. Well, you kind of need one of these, Elliot.
Yeah, let's do it, yeah.
You are going up against the Crackem King, though. So,
Yeah.
But here we go. A host of NBL teams and US colleges coveted somebody for the 2023-2024 season. But it was Cairns that won the sweepstakes and signed him. There aren't too many 20
Wizards. Oh, no, you got it.
Is it Taron?
Armstrong, yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to go when you said college, but anyway.
Got to go early, mate.
Yeah.
Got to go early.
I should just guess. It's better to get it wrong than not at all.
Mate, there's only 10 more players you can get on this team.
Okay, final card. You need this one to tie it up.
Yeah.
It's 5. Tell you what, this one's worth double.
Also 2.
All right, here we go. A product of the Basketball Australia Centre of Excellence. Somebody played college ball in the US before joining Cairns for NBL 23. He honed competitiveness growing up as the youngest of 9 children. I've wanted to follow in my older brothers and cousins' footsteps. He says, it doesn't matter if it's yoga, Pilates, boxing, on-court stuff, whatever. A forward for the Cairns Taipans.
I'm pulling blanks.
Cairns Taipans.
Wizards.
Yes.
Sam Wattenberg.
No, he's Kiwi, mate.
That's the only forward I can think of that's not Bob.
No, it's not Sam.
He's not Australian.
It's not Sam. All right.
Caps. I'll guess before you give any.
Yeah.
So it's fair. Jonah Antonio.
It is not.
Didn't
All right.
think so.
Nationality, Sudanese. Hometown, Adelaide, South Australia. Shoots righty. 206 centimetre, 94 kegger. Born in 1998.
Is it Bull Quoll?
It is not Bull Quoll.
There you go.
Elliot,
Why can't I think of?
have a crack, mate. Have a crack.
Now I know who it is. But I can't think of his name.
No, neither.
He now plays for Adelaide.
Oh, Wizards Latmayan.
There you
Yeah.
go. Got there in the end.
Why couldn't
There
I think
he
of Lat's
is.
name? I've played against him.
All right. 5 to let's call it 2. Hey, would have been 7-0, so that works
Yeah.
both ways. That works both ways. Right, Crackem King returns triumphant.
A little bit rusty at the end, but I some of the early ones were pretty nice.
Yeah, look, knocked him off. Well done. Takes the W. Elliot has got some room for growth.
Yeah.
Room for growth. But again, you're going up against the Crackem King. So, and there wasn't a bullet in the bunch. All right. That is going to wrap us up for another episode here at Ball Don't Lie. Big thank you, of course, to the 2 guests here this evening.
Let's go.
Yeah, right. Ant Kopcikas and Elliot Pittman. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming in, sitting on the couch in this incredibly hot winter's night, technically.
Yeah.
It's quite nice.
It's
Yeah.
all right,
Yeah.
Especially because I'm just wearing a singlet, but
Oh,
had to dress nice.
and a
too.
pair of cannons.
Mitch Richmond, my throwback Mitch Richmond jersey.
Very nice, very nice. But, and of course, Elliot wearing a
great shirt.
classic, throwback Nike shirt,
Yes.
T-shirt.
I'll have to pull out the Vice jersey one episode, I reckon.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. That's the one that people voted for. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Should be the episode whenever you get Tim back on.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
guys can be
Be a good
matching.
idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it. All right. Big thank you, of course, to you 2 gentlemen and to the NBL for allowing me to have, unvetted courtside access to the finals. That was fantastic. Enjoyed it immensely. It was nice to just sit down and watch some basketball at a high clip which was great. So thank you to Lockie Everett and, of course, everyone at NBL1. But that is going to wrap us up. Thanks also, of course, to Dr Electrical and local card shop of Woolloongabba, Crackem. Make sure if you're on the socials, give us those likes, follows, shares, all that stuff. If you're listening on a podcast service that allows those 5-star reviews, please do go ahead and do that. That stuff really does help. But until you're listening to us again, just remember, that ball don't lie.
It never does.